Elkins presents the Elkins Accounting Hour with your host, Chad Elkins.
And we're live. Happy Wednesday, you guys. As you can see, I am back in the wonderful Windy City for the first time in like 2 months, streaming from here. So talk about that in a second. It's just going to be me tonight because I'm doing a bit of a follow-up on some bookkeeping related streams. And so I think I'm going to bring Clary on next week when I do a stream for a more applicable topic. So I'll keep that in suspense for now. But first thing is first, which is always the most important part of this entire stream, and that is, what am I drinking this evening? This is from Half Acre. It's called the Way Bird Hazy IPA. It's 6.5% ABV, and it's really, really good. It's one of my favorites. Half Acre is a Chicago brewery, so you can only really get their beers around here in the close suburbs around in the area. Funny story about this one. I had a guy over last night. He's a buddy of mine, and I also do his taxes. And so we had him come in. We started about 6, and the dude walks upstairs into my apartment. He's carrying a 12-pack of these. So that was pretty awesome of him, because he only ended up drinking, it took us a good hour and 15 minutes to do his return. And the dude ended up polishing off probably about 4 of them in that time. I didn't have any because I don't like to drink when I'm doing returns. But so that left me 8 of these bad boys sitting in my fridge, which was great because I love these. Cheers. So yeah. I have, honest to God, this whole summer for me has been nothing but like travel. Since the time that I've streamed from here, like I've been to Reno, to Tahoe, to Texas, to Portland, to Hawaii, to Portland, back to Texas, back to Portland, back to Texas, and then finally ended up here late last week. And it was cool because the candidate actually came up with me. So she was here for the weekend. And we had an awesome freaking weekend, because there is this event every year in Chicago. It seems to only take place in August. I think since I've lived here, it's only been in August. It's called the Air and Water Show. And some people might have heard of it. It's basically people come from all over the Midwest, and it's cool because you get to see all types of like fighter planes and fighter jets, and so it's like a 3 or 4 hour air show essentially. And the best part is that there's this group called the Blue Angels, which is like they're top of the line in terms of doing stunts in the air, and it was really, really cool. And what made it even better was that for the first time ever, we got to watch the show from a boat while actually sailing in the lake, in Lake Michigan, because a buddy of mine has a boat here, and he invited us along. So we just had a really good time sitting there on the water watching these crazy fast and loud, like supersonic jets just doing all kinds of tricks. So it was pretty cool. And by the way, I would recommend that. Yes, I talk a lot of shit about Chicago, but the Air and Water Show, summers in Chicago are honestly what make worth living here, really the only time. So if you do get a chance to see the Air and Water Show here during a visit, I do highly recommend it. It's perfect weather. It's just a lot of fun. So anyway, I got a pretty good show tonight. Now, I haven't done a stream in almost 3 weeks. I've been traveling, enjoying life a little bit. And with my stream from Duke Crab, which was my last one, for those of you who saw it, probably remember, and those that didn't, what happened was he started to discuss how difficult it had been for him to find bookkeeping clients and really any sort of bookkeeping opportunities throughout this entire year. And I really appreciated that because he was keeping it very real, not just with me, but with himself and you guys, because, uh, you know, sort of like Clary being an a-hole consultant, like we're kind of not here to like say the world is like ice cream, puppy dogs, and unicorns. Some things really need to be said. And right now, I think we're probably about to enter a tough economic time. So that could have been why Crab was having a tough time in the bookkeeping part of his practice. But what happened was several of the viewers and followers found this to be discouraging, to say the least. People that wanted to go into bookkeeping, because I got over the last, 2.5 weeks, I've gotten quite a few emails from people who they are or were interested in becoming bookkeepers, like they were really interested in it. And most of these folks that emailed me were saying things along the lines of them being scared or nervous or worried about going into the bookkeeping track because, well, Crab basically was sharing some somber thoughts. So for this reason, I thought I'd bring on a gentleman who I consulted with late last year, who has managed to successfully start his own bookkeeping practice and who's really been having a good a good last several months with this. And this is without having any bookkeeping experience at all. So I'm going to bring him on in a second here. His name is Ritchie McClane. Now, he originally reached out for me for a consultation in mid-December, and we chatted about a bunch of things. And I got his permission. I'm gonna leave out some details which we can't share for privacy purposes. But to sort of set the table here, I'm going to go ahead and read the email that he sent me, the initial email. And this is what he said. He said, "Hi, Chad. Your show is great. This is an educational track question for someone seeking to switch out of their current career as quickly as possible. I'm interested in the smartest and fastest way to transition my career into taxes and accounting." And they talked about a little bit what he does, and I'm not going to mention that. "I'm confident with math and long hours of detailed work. I'd like to start with an online course in tax prep because I can get a part-time job local to me right away. Should I matriculate by then taking accounting and QuickBooks Online certifications and then the enrolled agent exams? Eventually, I could do a bachelor's degree online, but my goal is to earn," and he named a certain salary he's gunning for annually in a couple of years, "and get the F out of the factories in ASAP. Please give a couple of online school suggestions as well. And please forgive me if you've already covered this or if it's a fucking bore. I'll happily send some loot for educational consultation." So that was his original email to me. And so a day or two after that, we ended up setting up a little consultation over Zoom, as I've done with a lot of people. And and we discussed a bunch of the items that he outlined in that email I just read, along with many others. And long story short, we just chatted through a plan for him to sort of get started on the bookkeeping side of things, and he was successfully able to get a great start in this endeavor. And so he's here to talk about his experiences and to sort of provide some tips for those who want to start their own bookkeeping practice and be, successful, or at least get a successful start at it. And I'm hoping this is for lack of a better word, white pill, I think is what it's called. White pill, where you give hope for people that I guess swallowed a bit of a black pill or something like that based on the last stream I did. Now we do have to keep him anonymous because, we have to protect his identity. So he won't show his face on the camera. But other than that, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. It's either me or to him, and we'll get started and move along with the discussion. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Ritchie McClane. Mr. McClane, how goes it, sir?
I'm well, Chad. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. You are the sunshine that we're all going to need in the the apparent bookkeeping industry right now. So, well, first of all, Are you drinking a cold beverage, I hope?
I am drinking a cold beverage, a 16-ounce concoction made locally to where
Oh, well, cheers to that, man.
Cheers.
Ooh. Mm. Well, I guess I don't want to treat this like an interview, like tell me about yourself. But why don't you share a little bit about
Okay, yeah.
your background? Yeah.
Okay, I'll break it down. So basically, I've spent since I was a young kid, my first job was in a certain type of factory. And I pretty much followed through that my whole life, my whole adult life, because it was something that I knew. Not very glamorous, a lot of hard work, a decent middle class living, though. And, but, after uh, a couple of decades, I was definitely seeking out more. I was in that W-2 world,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted to be able to do my own thing. A few years back, I started up a side gig of doing insurance, which has got its plus and minuses, and I still do it. It makes me money, but I was really searching for a thing or something that I could really, make money on my own terms. And so I basically have been a factory guy working that 9 to 5 for a long, long time. And that's kind of the long and short of of my story as far as the background goes. But getting into the bookkeeping part and
Yeah.
listening to you and Clary talk about it, I was like, well, I really would. It piqued my curiosity, and I started digging deeper. And then I finally reached out to you, and we kind of narrowed things down to bookkeeping. And and looking at that, I was like, hey, I'm already working a full-time job. I've got a side gig, but this is something that I could do at my desk, at home, or at my kitchen table. I was like, I want to give this a shot, and it wasn't like the bar to get in, the obstacle wasn't terrible. It was so to I guess break down what I did was I first, of course, like most people, I went to Intuit.
Yes.
And I took the Intuit bookkeeping certification. And I forget, I think they want you to take it for 12 weeks. And I definitely finished it faster. But I'm pretty disciplined and regimented, and so I worked on it every single day. And
Ritchie, just real quick, because I get this question all the time. Did you have to? You had to pay for that, right? Like, or
okay,
was it?
so no, the Intuit bookkeeping certification is free.
That's yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just the bookkeeping certification is completely free. You just sign up and you go for it. Now, the thing is with Intuit, if anybody's out there and they've taken online courses or gone to school and they think about classes they've liked or they've learned a lot, Intuit does not design a class that you will like or that you think is designed well. it's it's a lot of compact information. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of kind of outside research as well. And let me say this, like I didn't enter in this to just like pass a test to get a certification. Like what I had really clearly in the back of my head was I want to learn how to do this at that beginner level, but at a level where I could call myself a pro advisor, an expert, and get a job done for somebody who needs it and they will pay me. And so that was, I was in it to learn something, not just get, a digital certification.
And I worry that sometimes people because you didn't really have any experience with this, right?
No, not at all. I didn't really do college. I've always been a reader and stuff, and I've had to do some stuff in the past that was kind of academic, and I'm not afraid of that. but I didn't have like an accounting or any kind of legitimate financial background. My parents were boomers. They said, follow your dreams. Okay. And, I did basic budgeting. I knew how to use TurboTax. But I didn't, really understand much of that stuff. So in the Intuit bookkeeping course, they go over accounting principles. And I just in my head, like picking out the good things in that course, not necessarily that they taught it well, but the good things for that course were that I learned what debits and credits were.
Well, that's half the battle right there.
Yeah, and how to do that. And then after debits and credits, I really focused. They didn't, they go over it pretty quick, but I really focused and practiced journal entries.
Yes, T accounts. Yep.
Yeah. And for the reason that I recognized right away that was kind of like, the meat on the bone. That was understanding the alphabet,
Yes.
And then after that, they kind of pound a little bit on accounting principles, which was helpful. But, you get done with this course, the bookkeeping certification, and you're kind of like, okay, I kind of know some stuff. Do I feel like I could walk into an office or talk to other people who do this for a living and get any respect or feel smart? No, I didn't feel that way at all. But I did feel really confident with, just those couple of basics of debits and credits and journal entries and the accounting principles.
So you did this the right way, because I think what confuses some people, especially, it's not a knock on them, maybe some of the younger guys, there's a way you can learn accounting, intellectually, academically, but at some point you have to have a mindset, how am I going to put this into practice? And that's why I like what you're saying, because yes, you had that mentality, like, what am I going to do with this, instead of just like checking off a box of, oh, I finished this course. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I didn't want to have waste my time, because like my time is already, I've got a lot, going on, full-time job, and life stuff. And I didn't, and I took it seriously enough where I was studying every night. And sometimes when I woke up early in the morning, I'd get that 45 minutes in. And I almost a little bit like trade school. I was like, I'm going to walk out of this with being able to do something. And so I finished that course up, the Intuit bookkeeping certification. I think I did it in 7 weeks.
Nice.
I could have done it quicker, but the thing is, I would have been able to pass their little quizzes, but I filled up my notebook. I was like really into like the stuff that I recognized that I'd be using. And so from there, I got my my QuickBooks accountant account, and just so I could have QuickBooks. And then when you have your QuickBooks accountant account, you can then through that take their QBO Pro Advisor. Now, the QuickBooks accounting account, I think I needed to activate like my $10 a month one thing, which I was just putting my own books in so I could practice. And through that, you get access to their Pro Advisor. Now, the Pro Advisor, I forget how long. I think they say that some people do it in a month. Some people take a few months. I took about a month and a half. Now, I did it for about 2.5 weeks. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, it almost feels like they outsourced this educational material to someone that had English as a second language.
Oh no, really? I hate to hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of disjointed. It's because it's a bit confusing, because it's teaching you bookkeeping, but it's teaching you a software platform at the same time. Right?
I'm sorry, real quick, Ritchie, did you have to pay something extra for the Pro Advisor, or this was just part of the Intuit
Oh,
thing?
okay. Well, yeah, no, just having the QuickBooks accountant, I didn't have to pay anything for the Pro Advisor. I did have to have the QuickBooks accountant membership,
Okay,
which
okay.
I got the minimum one, which was activating it, having one account on there, because you can have multiple accounts like their clients. And I
Oh, we lost him. Ritchie, we lost you for a second. You
Oh,
still there?
yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. You were talking about how you had to get a membership to QuickBooks
Yeah.
Accountant.
So I just got I just got the $10 plan on and then I started taking the Pro Advisor. After about 2 weeks of doing it just through the QuickBooks Pro Advisor, the Intuit course, I was doing research and I found online another. It's basically a QBO, QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor study course.
Okay. Where did you find it?
Okay, so the name of it is called Fast and Easy QBO.
Fast and Easy QBO. Yeah, Rich, you would not believe how many questions I get about this over email, and I'm just like, I'm not the bookkeeping expert. So
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's helpful.
yeah, I hope this helps a lot of people so they don't waste time, because, take this from an old guy. Time is your most precious thing, and especially if you want to go from zero to hero, from feeling like you're not making anything to actually making some money. Like time is key. And so that's the thing, is that I felt like, gosh, this Intuit learning situation is really time consuming. They don't break down the information well. So I found this Fast and Easy QBO, and they did break it down way better. Like, it's made by someone that obviously teaches, but the best part of it is that they had an online kind of workbook where you would get spreadsheets and use your on QBO. They have kind of like a practice, thing, and you would just punch in the numbers and go through categorizing or tagging or classifying or reconciling, all the things you need to do. And that cost about $300.
Okay, so it's a little bit, but nothing like prohibitively expensive, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
worth it, right? You think it
Oh,
was worth?
totally worth it, because after I did that, not only did I feel like I was learning effectively, but I felt like I was deep learning, because they were like, because Intuit's like, oh, it's this and this, and we'll give you a 5-question quiz. Let's move on. And what this other program did was like, oh, it's this and this. Here's some quizzes, but also here's a chance to go into this workbook and practice it. And a lot of them weren't easy. Like, there was definitely a few that I spent all weekend doing, because I had the balance sheet and everything. It needed to be the right number.
Right.
You know?
That sounds fantastic. Like, sort of walking you through, challenging, like challenges. So you can like think through it and get the answer, and then you can see how you got everything to balance out. I like that.
Yeah. So you were doing kind of like the brain work of it, but you were also doing the QuickBooks portion of it. Going back and forth to the different tabs and knowing where to go, and then stopping. Sometimes, like, no matter how much you use software, there's a point where you need to break out the scratch paper and the pen and list some things out, and that really helped me. That really helped me a lot. So I finished that up, just the QuickBooks Pro Advisor. It was about a month and a half. And then I was like, after that, I was like, F it. I'm going to go get the QuickBooks Pro Advisor Advanced.
Okay.
And that was another few $100, I think. No, I mean, through Intuit, it was free, but I went to the Fast and Easy QBO and did their learning course on top of Intuit's course. and that was another few $100, and that took me about another month and a half. And mind you, just to put it into, you know, a temporal context, I started everything, the first bookkeeping into its bookkeeping certification, January 1st.
Oh, nice.
And so I got the bookkeeping cert, the pro advisor, and the pro advisor advanced badge by April 15th.
April 15th. That's a wonderful day.
It was a
for some of
wonderful
us.
day.
Yes.
Yeah. It was funny. I thought about that. But I mean, I had all these other lists of things to learn, because so even though I did all that, being a QuickBook Pro Advisor Advanced, that just makes it so that I kind of know the software. And I kind of know what a bookkeeper does. Because, you know, being someone that's worked in a factory and doing jobs that, you know, there's quality control and fabrication, chemical processes. And over the years, I've seen new guys show up that thought they knew stuff. And really, you know, when you're in a trade, you see how people, you know, it takes somebody 5 years not to screw things up royally and make a lot of extra work, you know? And so I know that even though I learned a lot, that I'm still the new guy.
That's the right mentality, because this is the same in tax. I think some guys take some courses and get a little experience, and they think they're supposed to know the entire Internal Revenue Code back to front. It's like experience, experience, experience. So you have the right idea with all of this. So we're at April 15th, which was a glorious day once again.
Yeah.
So what is, it's almost exactly 4 months ago. So tell me about what's been going on since April 15th.
Okay, so April 15th, it's over, and I'm looking at my to-do list. And the top 3 are scratched off. I had like all these other things I wanted. Like I wanted to take the Surgeon's tax course. I wanted to take the Intuit Pro Connect, and then these specific bookkeeping courses that were a little bit more advanced that had to do with cleanup and things like that. And so I felt like I was a little bit in limbo. Okay. And I'm not one of those people like I'm going to go around and be like, hey guys, I'm taking this course. You know, I'm not going to be that guy, but I'm a pretty social person. And I go to barbecues, I go to potluck dinners, I go to the beach and hang out with people. And, you know, anytime someone's business stuff comes up or people talk about their dreams, right, their thing, I would mention to them, I'd be like, oh, hey, you know, I'm a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and I can do people's books.
I'm gonna call timeout. Are you telling me you actually talked to people? You had a real conversation, you know, like a normal human being?
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't put any Facebook ads out. I didn't put, so my mindset.
Listen to this, you guys, listen, please.
Okay. So my mindset from the beginning, because, you know, I'm 50. That's maybe, I don't know. Some people think that's old. Some people think it's young.
Nope, Gen X.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. But I was like, there's no way that I'm going to go apply to a job where there's some boss and people are showing up, or even some remote job where they're going to ask me, you know, like, you know, ridiculous things. I just wanted to find people that had problems that needed to be solved.
Handling problems is a big thing, and that's kind of what bookkeepers and people in tax do too. But I think what I like so much is that you actually, I swear, sometimes people just don't know what it means to, you know, talk to somebody like a human being. But anyway, please keep going.
Yeah, no, and it's so true, because you know, people, you know, think everything's online now and how you advertise.
Yes, it's not.
And it's definitely not. It's just like that trope you see online, like, you know, like people are supposed to, you know, like you can't just go up and talk to a girl and ask her out. Hey, I remember the 80s and 90s. You could do that. You could just go talk to people, right. You know? And so anyway, to be serious, at select times with the proper people and at the select moments, I would just drop that in there. And, I would ask people, what they were doing, what their plans were, be really interested in their business ideas,
Right.
And so the first time I did that, Chad, wasn't April 15th. It was like January 8th.
Because
Like a week in.
You were already thinking ahead, and you weren't just gonna, go on Twitter or whatever and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a bookkeeper." You actually got yourself out there, didn't you?
I did. And it was at a potluck, a lot of mixed ages, a lot of boomers, a lot of Gen X, a lot of Gen Z. And there was some, and I've been living in this same spot for almost 20 years. And so, I know people, and there was some boomers. They're pretty cool boomers. And
They exist? No, I'm just kidding.
I know. These guys are pretty cool. And I mentioned to them what I was doing, and they had already talked to me about insurance stuff. But I was like, I'm doing this now. And they're like, can you do our taxes? And I was like, I don't do taxes yet, but, I'm doing the bookkeeping. I'm going to be done in a few months, and I'm really excited about that. And this one gentleman who like I said, who I've known, just topically, just socially, he was like, you do bookkeeping? He's like, I need help with something. And he said, basically, I've got 2 accountants, and I've got this and that going on, and I have all these things going on, but I have a family member. It's more of a sensitive situation. It's a special needs trust. That means it's a person with special needs. And I don't want a nameless, faceless, kind of like this big accounting firm people that I don't know, because sometimes you might need to talk to them. And, you're a good person. I know you. And would you take this on monthly? And basically I was like, well, I'm not done yet. And he's like, no, it's not a big deal. So, it was pretty much like a bookkeeper's, like not a dream first account, but a good one, because it's, a few disbursements in, and then a few like credit cards, liabilities out, and then some, a little bit of communication with the person, a couple times a month. And so I'm categorizing, I have a chart of accounts, I categorize. And then once I categorize everything monthly, I reconcile.
Reconciliation is something that's one of the best ways to really like get good at bookkeeping. I've always found is just when you don't have experience, just practicing the reconciliations.
Oh boy,
it's just that's how you learn.
Oh yeah, you definitely learn a lot. Like you'll find that like you have a bank statement and you're like, oh, this is easy, and you're reconciling, and then you get a credit card statement and you're like, oh wait, they do this different than the bank statements, with a little bit different than the bank. And there's some stuff, because there's a big difference between when the transaction happened and when it's posted.
Timing differences are big in accrual accounting. So
yes.
So you didn't find that too terribly difficult after you did it a few times, right?
No, it's not terribly difficult. I mean, I wanted to be able to do it really good. So the first few times I did it, I mean, I took a few hours. Now I've got that whittled down to, I'm quicker at it, and I still catch myself, sometimes I put in 30 cents instead of 3 cents when we're talking about interest earned. You know what I mean? Like little weird things, and you catch yourself. And so being in that learning state was great while I was finishing up the Pro Advisor.
By the way, much of this applies to tax too. Like you just have to practice it a little bit and go through a few simple returns, and then you'll just get more efficient at it, just like Ritchie has with bookkeeping. So
Yeah, yeah. It's so, I mean, I don't take it lightly because, being a new guy, the last thing I want to do is do this for a year and find out that I screwed something up and I have to redo a whole year of bookkeeping.
we do not ever want to be in that type of situation. That is a lot of catch up.
Yeah. So I'm really, I take it seriously. And so April 15th rolls around. I've been telling a few people what's going on just at the right times. I'm not like, like wearing a t-shirt that says I'm a bookkeeper and it's the only conversation I have. If I'm in a social situation, I'm going to be talking to ladies, I'm going to be talking to friends, I'm going to be cheersing people. But when it comes up, I'll schmooze with people. And so one of the first things that I got directly after that was I was at a beach barbecue and my friend introduced me to this younger, bro guy. He was a really nice guy. He brought all this marinated meat to the barbecue and we were talking about that. And he's like, well, I'm going to be starting up my business soon. And, long story short, he's a smart guy and he understood that a little bit, that he needed to have books if he wanted to get a loan in the future. Do you know what I mean? And do taxes right. And even if it was simple books, he needed to have good records. And like, I kind of hit home with that. And so basically, for him, I charged $45 an hour to start up his chart of accounts, to show him how to use QuickBooks, help him with the LLC formation, which is kind of outside the purview of bookkeeping. But I was like, oh yeah, it's easy. You do this, this, and that, and that. And it was, we did it over the phone. And after I was done with work, I was making $45 an hour at home.
It's awesome.
And it was super awesome. And I was like, holy cow. And so,
let me real quick. Did you hear what he said there? He said he helped the person set up his chart of accounts and bookkeeping. I think some people that want to get into bookkeeping, they're just so insistent on, I have to do it all from the beginning. You can make money just helping people get their own system set up. So continue, please.
Oh yeah. Completely, because you meet a lot of people. I mean, I have a story of somebody who's completely helpless, but you'll meet most people aren't completely helpless. And what they want is somebody that can just give them a very confident and clear answer and show them the way. And so I was like, hey, bro, let's put together your chart of accounts. Okay, let's go over a little bit about what, liabilities and equity. Okay, let's make that credit card and that account just for the business. Let's make this nice and clean, and he was like, oh, this is awesome. And, and this is how you're going to put it in. This is how you're going to categorize it. And if you have trouble with anything, reconciling it, call me up. I cost $45 an hour, but I will work my butt off to get it done, within the hour.
And you didn't put the hard sell on anything. You weren't pushy. No, yeah. You weren't like, oh, I need, you're just like, hey, here's what it is. I'll explain a few things to you. Let me know if you need me. It's perfect, I think.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't go into this. I'm never going to take a job with somebody that I don't want to work with. Or you know what I mean? I mean, maybe exactly. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. But so I've had a few of those where I was just setting people up, and I've been called. They've called me up and been like, I need an hour or two. And that's been nice. But then I did have some completely kind of helpless people. And like a good example is like like I mentioned, uh, I've been very social in my life. I know a lot of people. I get invited to things, and so I ran into this guy who I've known just not very well, but I see him out for years, and I hadn't seen him in a little while. And I was like, "Hey, man, how are you?" And he's like, "We got a divorce. I've got to sell the house. I've got to sell the house here. I've got to sell the house back, in the other state I live in." And, this really kind of hard story. And I'm like, wow, man, like that sounds really complicated. He's like, and what's worse is when my accountant died 3 years ago, I haven't filed taxes for 3 years.
See, this is one of the things about actually being a social person and asking questions about other people and not being a spurg and being able to, carry on a conversation. This applies to tax, bookkeeping, whatever. At some point, especially here in the United States, somebody is going to ask you, so what do you do for a living? Or you're going to ask them. And so inevitably, it's going to come up that you do something related to accounting. And again, you're not pushing anything on anybody. You're just saying, oh, this is what I happen to do. And this is what I'm, working on.
Yeah. And I think that's a big deal because, people, what you and Clary, I mean, you guys, what you're doing from the outside, people are like, oh, wow. But I think one point that might be missed is that how people really it's that old sales thing. It's pain points.
Yeah.
People need help in the real economy, in the real America. People need to help each other, and people's labor is worth things. And being somebody that people A, like and trust, and B, has a little bit of solid skill is worth something.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the things that what I started really caught on to right away when I started talking about it. Everybody asks if I do taxes, and I'll, but the people that understand the value of bookkeeping. But anyway, this helpless person, he's like, bro, what do I do? And I'm like, look, you need a lot of help, but let's start with square one. Let's sit down. Let's get all your documents. And this guy, this is not a Shlomo. He had, he was definitely in a hard point in his life and pretty scattered, but he has equity in businesses. He has passive income coming in. He had a lot of different things going on and almost no way to documenting it. Well, but just say he didn't collect any of it. So we sat down and I was like, let's start from square one. And I had to talk to him and this is all on the clock. Because I charged more than $45 an hour. And we had to meet a bunch of times. He was definitely needed help. And so we did a lot of work hunting down documents, me getting the documents, putting them together, like, stacks of unopened letters.
Welcome to my world.
Yes. Like the proverbial shoebox times 100. Him going through, really having to have to coach him to call those banks so we can get online banking access. And it took hours and hours and hours.
Ritchie, I'll be right back. I got to refill my beer. Keep talking. This is gold.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
And so what you find is that when you're working with people that really need a hand, is that they don't even know where to start. And having somebody that just says, okay, this is square one. And you know what? This guy hadn't filed taxes for 3 years and was in a heap of pain, but we were suddenly on the road to solving it. And for him, in this case, that just meant, okay, let's get every single statement of account. Let's get every single credit card account. Let's get all those business documents and agreements. And we had to track down the daughter of his dead accountant, who was actually super helpful and had all of his taxes and documents from 3 years ago. That looks like a good beer, Chad.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with this left-hand peanut butter milk stout. I don't even really like stouts that much, but this one, holy shit. Oh, you were telling him that story about the accountant that died. Is that
Yeah,
it? Or
this is that same guy. He was really helpless and he hadn't filed for 3 years. So basically, he paid me to collect his documents. And if you take a bookkeeping course, there is a stress on understanding what documents you need to collect and how to put those into the chart of accounts. Now, this is an interesting thing. You know, I'm confident with some things, but you know what? Building that chart of accounts, there are certain times where I'm like, I need an accountant, because there might be some stuff that could be a major screw up for a bookkeeper to build the chart of accounts wrong. Like, it might be that you got it right. Yeah, that is an equity. Or, you know, maybe, you know, you get something that's like a prepaid credit card and you don't put it in the chart of accounts right. And then a year goes by, you know, and you've just flopped all the books, you know. And so the chart of accounts, that's something you should know really well. But, you know, someone that's just starting out, like, there's a lot of stuff that I will have to pour over and research. And I have a friend whose wife, who's an accountant, that I've asked for help a few times.
Do not be afraid to ask for help when you need it. I get bookkeepers that occasionally will come to me and be like, I'm not really sure what I may want to do here. And I know you do taxes, not bookkeeping, but do you have any ideas? And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, what about this? And I think the thing that I want people to take away from some of the things that you're talking about is that everything you've accomplished so far in this, just from what you've talked about, is essentially by being a normal, regular, intelligent, well-adjusted social human being. And sometimes I worry, look, I love accountants. I am one. I love colleagues. Sometimes some of us could do a little bit better in the socializing department, at least smoothly. I got to keep it real. So I think the next thing I wanted to ask you was, because you did mention tax and you were getting a lot of questions. Some people are asking you, oh, I need my taxes done. Do you do tax? Now, I remember in our initial consultation, and even in your initial email, there was some discussion about you potentially going into tax. So I wanted to see where your mind was at as far as that goes right now.
Okay, yeah. So this is good. This is a good question, because I thought about this the whole time. Like, how am I matriculating? How am I going forward? How is this going to be useful for me in my limited time? You know, because I'm 50. I'm going to be 60 in 10 years. Ooh. You know, and I don't want to keep on working at the factory, even though yeah, it's not glamorous, and it's not as bad as you think, but it's not awesome. What I really want to do is I want to live abroad most of the year. And so for me to do that, what my plan is that come this January, I'm going to take a 3-month tax course. I forget which taxes. I'm not going to be doing the H&R block or anything like that. I'm going to be doing a tax course that allows me to do, personal income tax and basic business tax. And I'm going to, it's funny because King Crab mentioned this. I do want to do, I'm not going to go work for H&R Block. I could potentially work for a local CPA, but I think I might do some volunteer, the IRS volunteer. Yeah, some
Vita.
Vita.
That's very good. Yeah, see my last stream with King or Duke Crab about that. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And so the plan is that if I get this tax education, which is 3 months, and I could do some Vita, then I could dive right into the EA. That I could give myself 18 months to do the EA. And and ultimately after the tax course, will I be a tax expert? No. Will I be able to do some tax stuff? Yeah. And
Yes.
then if I do spend a year and a half being EA, will I be a good EA? I don't know. Maybe I'll be capable of some of the basics. But and that's what that whole thing will allow me to do is that I'm a single dad. My kid's gonna graduate high school in 3 years. I'm gonna be able to leave my factory, live wherever I want, whether it's abroad or near my daughter, and do tax and bookkeeping, because bookkeeping is like the gateway drug for doing people's taxes.
Excellently put, because you have to understand bookkeeping, at least to some extent, if you want to get really proficient and efficient at doing taxes. So I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, so you said January, you thought you'd start sort of studying the
Yeah.
tax.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the factory's busy season, and also, like I said, I do insurance. The insurance busy season. I work like 50 hours a week, folks, and I don't get to post online a middle finger while I'm hiking on Mondays like Clary does.
Well, we most of us can't live the charmed life that Mr.
Right,
Clary
right.
gets to. So despite his bad moods.
Right. So, but I am going to give myself options. I'm going to have to work,
Yes.
but I am going to give myself options. And will I ever be at the top of the pile of knowledge and ability? No. But there always going to be people that 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 need help and want help from someone that they know and that they
Yes.
like. Yeah, there's definitely. Will I ever make a post online that oh, I do bookkeeping, it costs this much and this is the fancy name of my company? No, I'm not gonna do that. No way.
And look, I'm never going to know everything there is to know about doing taxes, and I don't even want to. That would just be only a crazy person can learn the entire Internal Revenue Code. So you're absolutely right. You know enough to be very reliable, very accurate, and then people want to have somebody they trust who they work with, and that's what you were able to accomplish, in
Oh,
this last. Yeah.
absolutely. And also, if I can sweeten the pot at all, I know that Clary always talks about with you that do accountants get the girls up, and it's like no, but I'll tell you what. In the social situations, like I said, I'm a social person. Um, when you're someplace and it does come up, I mean, like I said, I don't flaunt it out there or whatever, but it does come up. I've had some very professional, well put together ladies have very long conversations with me about doing their books and about taxes and how best to like to get ahead in this world, because the world is hard and harder than ever. Outlook doesn't look great, and so people it could be that in the future that the flex is really hey baby, I'm a bookkeeper.
Well, you know what, Richie? I remember when I was first getting established like 10, 11 years ago. I've already told the story. I don't care. I'm not ashamed of it. At the time, I was using dating apps. And so whenever the date or whatever didn't go well, or it just, obviously it wasn't going to happen again, I'd get contacted by these women months later. They're like, "Hey, you're a tax accountant, right? Will you do my taxes?" So, I mean, there's ways, just putting yourself out there in any context is going to get you potential clients, even if you're just at a party or a sports ball event or at a bar or going hiking or even talking to guys on the internet who run their own asshole consulting farms. So,
Yeah.
it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, accountants are not always likable people. That's We earned that reputation, I think.
Well, we're gonna change that. We're gonna change that.
Yeah.
And I'll put my email in the comments later on. So if people want to reach out and have bookkeeping questions or how to not be socially awkward, I'll give them a hand.
Honestly, there's a lot of people that could use some tips on how not to be socially awkward, but that's not the subject of my streams.
No, it's not.
I'm not the expert. Well, just a few more questions. Is there anything you particularly... Now, I think what you like about it is you like talking to people. You like helping people, and so do I. I was going to ask what you like and maybe even dislike a little bit about bookkeeping. Well, yeah, just so we can be fair. Is there any aspect of it you're not so fond of? Just so we can,
Well, I think that right now I've been really good at keeping what I know I'm not going to like. Is that because I've had through the factory business, I've had to deal with either vendors or outside clients, and then also in my insurance business, I've had no choice but to deal with difficult people. And with bookkeeping right now, anytime that it felt difficult, I wouldn't even mention I do big bookkeeping, or I just wouldn't go there with them. So I think that one of the things that, my nightmare stuff, I can pick and choose to have that out of there. And hey, listen, if you're not somebody that can sit down and chase a problem and not get discouraged for hours and remain calm and if you're not that kind of person, then don't do it. Like, you need to be the kind of person that can really, like, an adult way, be like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to watch the sports ball or do the thing because I'm gonna spend this next 8 hours or this next 5 hours or however long it takes to figure this out.
It's tough for some young people I should say all people. I don't want to pick on the young people. Like, it's tough for some people to really try to fit it all in there. You do have to when you say you've had to make some sacrifices for this, in order to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was waking up early and then coming home after a full day and studying, or I have a lot going on and I'm like, it's close to the end of the month and I got to get all the statements came in and I got to do all the reconciling, and even though it's not this, I don't really want to do it, I'm going to do it.
Well, that leads me to the next question, because I feel like, I think I might know what you're about to say, but what's your advice for people who really like what they're hearing from you about what you did, and what can they do to sort of follow in your footsteps? Is it really just kind of shutting out the noise and buckling down? What would you say?
Well, I don't know. Everybody's different, but in my case, I set out not to get a bookkeeping job, not to work for other people. I set out to help people solve their problems and get paid for it.
Yes. You're not there to make a sale. This is the problem. Too many people come on too strong, right? Like, they're trying to sell themselves.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Whether it's dating or talking to people or socializing, just chat.
Yeah.
It sounds
and also,
simplistic.
yeah, absolutely. That's the main thing. But, and also, for all the people that are younger than me or maybe near my age, I want a change. I have an opportunity and it's not set in stone, but if I follow this, I don't have to be just stuck. I can work in any factory in the country, but I want to work for myself. I want to have options. I want to be able to do professional services like bookkeeping or tax, and not be an old guy, not be 59 years old, hanging out, in a company with a bunch of people way younger than me and my back hurting and not have options.
Right. Because in a few years, or hell, maybe, well, you said, yeah, 2 or 3 years or whatever, you can be, if you get fully established and you've got enough bookkeeping clients, not only can you work from anywhere, you can work at any time. I
Yeah.
mean, imagine the possibilities of that.
Oh,
Same with tax.
I have imagined, Chad. Philippines 4 months out of the year, working off my computer, maybe being wherever, in some little town in the United States near wherever my daughter goes to school, but I'll have the option to do that.
Exactly.
And that to me is such pure gold and gets me way more excited than anything else.
And that is one of the things, Clary stresses this. He's just like, if you want to have location independence and kind of be your own boss, you got to admit, Ritchie, this is a pretty good field to get into, don't you think?
It is. It's daunting. Yeah. It's a lot of sacrifice. I do my big day at my W-2 job. I come home, I do all the home stuff, and then there's days where I open up that QBO and I have I have like 23 pages of statements.
Takes some gumption. It does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then there's something that's off, and that 2-hour thing turns into a 5-hour thing or a 4-hour thing. But I'll get better at it, and I know I will if I want to.
Exactly. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, the more efficient you are. I mean, everything, I've said it before, you have to learn how to crawl before you can walk, learn how to walk before you can run, learn how to run before you can sprint. And everybody thinks like the hard times are going to last forever, learning how to do something, but then it just starts to click. And then, yeah.
Oh yeah. And I wish that I was, that back in the early 2000s or late 90s, I knew this.
Well, I guess since he's not here, we can say something nice about him. This is one thing Clary does do, is that he's trying to get people to see you don't have to go getting into debt to go to college to do this type of stuff. Because you did not have to take a single college course for this, did you?
No, I didn't have to take a single college course. I did not have to do anything like that. I didn't have to get some $300 per credit or do anything like that. I did have to commit to really learning it instead of just being able to pass a test, though.
Right. And I wish I could hammer that. I just wish I could hammer that into everybody's head, not just with the EA exams, but, for the bookkeeping certifications. Like, it's a necessary component. You have to learn how to do it. There's really no other way out of it, is there?
No. Yeah. You got. Yeah. It's because I come from more of a trade background. We always say that there's a difference between knowing how to do something and being able to do something. Right. And there's all sorts of people who have an opinion that know something, but very few people are able to do stuff.
Oh, I did have one more question real quick.
Sure.
How, I guess I'm curious, like, when you see yourself, do you envision a point where you're going to tilt, like, bookkeeping, tax? Do you plan on sort of offering both? Because a lot of people do offer both.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah. What I plan is that once I get the tax course under my belt and do Vita, all the people I do bookkeeping for, I'm going to do their taxes. And the people that and it's all word of mouth. Like I said, that's how I want to do it. But if I do someone's bookkeeping for a year, that's potentially on the low end, $2,500 or $3,000 a year. Add in their taxes, and on the high end, the last guy that I talked to just 4 days ago, I was running on the beach and ran into an old homie, and he's in a divorce, but basically he's a contractor, and asked me what I was doing, and he's like, "This is perfect." He's like, I've got all this, and you're my friend, and you can do this, and so I see being a bookkeeper, tax guy, and that does representation for just nominal level problems, because anything else, go get a tax attorney, but nominal level things, like if I do those 3 things, then I could, literally work online in the Philippines if I have that.
And people love others who are able to handle problems for them. So that's
Oh yeah, handle problems and be
problems
cool about it.
handling.
And be
Yeah.
cool about it. I'm not gonna be the asshole consultant. I'll be cool about it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is that I joke about this with the candidate, my girlfriend. Clary would never ever have the patience to do the job that we have to do as tax guy's bookkeeper. His head would explode in a day.
Yeah.
He'd have some serious problems handling that. I mean, it is just, We're a little bit past the hour mark here, Ritchie. So I want to make sure we left a little bit of time for some questions, if any of y'all had any. We do have a few super chats. Let me just peruse the chat here. Was there anything else you wanted to add while I'm looking?
No, I think we really squeezed out all the juice on that one. I think we did good.
And this is why I wanted you to come on here, man, because this whole time it's been positive. It hasn't been, oh, I'm having the hardest time. I don't know what it is. I've gone online and I've posted in Facebook and
I made business cards even.
I stuck business cards in people's front doors. No, just get out there and talk. Yeah. What do you do for a living, Ritchie? Well, I do this, but I've started doing, a little bit of bookkeeping. Really? Well, I was just starting out a new business. Tell me more about this bookkeeping you do. It's just so easy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have my job. I'm not reliant just on that. And I think that's my big power with this is that, I'm growing it in a very considerate kind of way.
And that's honestly, organic is how you do it. Like word of mouth. Once you get enough people that, word of mouth are singing your praises, you never have to advertise ever again because your name's going to get around. So
yeah.
Let's run through some super chats here, and then there are a few other questions. But traditionally, Ritchie, the guest reads the super chat, but I'm just going to read them because
Okay, I can't see them anyway.
I was going to say I think you mentioned you're using phone, so I'll just go ahead and read them. But chime in if there's anything you want to add to the answers, please. This one is from Christian Patton for $2. I might get a job doing reconciliations, hopefully. Well, is that something? Let's say that the work that you were primarily doing, Ritchie, was reconciliations. You wouldn't necessarily hate that, would you?
No, I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, if you're talking about full time, I mean, that's a real headbanger. You gotta
would be, yeah.
Because basically, they're like, oh, it's just reconciliations. But what happens is that because I know this. Because with myself, I'm the only person that's handing the accounts in or handling the account. And so I make little mistakes, but I only need to hunt down my little mistakes. If you work for someplace, you're going to be passed on stuff that lots of people have had. And so you become a sleuth. And there's actually courses, and through the Fast and Easy QBO course, and there are a few other ones. I think 5 Megabyte Academy has this too, where they have what's, cleanup, which is kind of like ultimately you're going to reconcile anyway through a cleanup. Right. And so, that is like being a sleuth. That's on the audit kind of sides of things.
I know some bookkeepers that's all they do is clean up, and they're able to make a living doing that. They don't have their own regular bookkeeping clients. They just set up bookkeeping systems for people and do cleanup.
If you're good at it, you can make a lot of money doing that.
You can. This one's from ET for $19.99. He's been patiently waiting. Hi, Chad and Ritchie. Can you explain how the standard mileage rate of 67 cents per mile is deducted from your overall tax liability? Is it as simple as it just comes off the top, or is it more complicated than that? Thanks. This is more of a tax question, so I'm going to answer it. But first, any thoughts on that, Ritchie? And then I'll just answer it.
Well, if you got a business or an LLC, you better be recording everything. That's just my bookkeeper take of it.
Well, so what it is like the standard, the way auto expenses work, and this is tax again, you can take standard mileage rates, which is easy. You drove 1,000 business miles, 67 cents per mile, so you get $670 off, deducted from the overall net from your gross income. So it's a regular expense. So it takes down your tax liability. So that's standard. Most people do standard auto expenses, but there's also an option to do actual auto expenses. Typically, people who have to drive a ton and they need a lot of mechanical work. Sometimes it's more advantageous to do that. Like when the actual expenses exceed any mileage, you would take actual, but the kicker is you have to stick to the same method every time. So meaning once you change, you can't change back. So if you started at actual and you go to standard, you have to say standard. If you start at standard, go to actual, you can't go back. So anyway, little tax lesson there. This one's from Atham for $2. I need to get a flight in my local brewery. So Atham's a good friend who I visited a couple months ago now in June, and Clary came by too, and we went hiking. You probably saw some middle finger posts. Atham took us to a bunch of really good breweries, and there was this god awful, terrible beer, just disgusting. It was like cat piss. And the name of the beer, we got a flight. The name of it was McClary. Like that was the name of the beer. And we only got the McClary. You can pick 4 or 5. We selected that one because of the name, and it was so terrible. So if you ever go to any, I won't name the brewery in Reno, mainly because I can't remember the name of it. Atham, if you remember the name of it, tell me. If you go to that particular brewery, don't get the McClary. It's absolutely disgusting. So, you drink beer at all, Ritchie?
I used to drink. I was like when I was young, I was like most young people. I would binge drink on the weekends, and some weekends were the cheap beer weekends, and some weekends were the good beer. Where I live currently, there's some awesome breweries that have some epic views, and I use those are kind of like great for dates and like hanging out with people. So, I like it. I really like a good beer, like a good Guinness. I'm like kind of like that, but nowadays though, I'm trying to keep it healthy. So so I've been trying to have kombuchas, hard kombuchas.
Kombuchas. Now we're talking.
Oh yeah.
For those that don't, if any of you find yourselves in Reno, and Great Basin is the name of the brewery, it's actually very, very good. Just don't get the McClary. It's disgusting. Let's see what else. Starscream 1540. Good to see you, man. $2. Ritchie, did you get an LLC for the bookkeeping? That's a good question.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did get the LLC for the bookkeeping, and if this next new client that comes online, that's a builder, if I get him, it's going to be more serious, and I'll get E&O insurance too.
Just going to say, don't forget the professional liability insurance, because, we're dealing with other people's money, and, people can get emotional about that. So you always want to protect yourself. So just because you have an LLC does not mean you don't need E&O insurance, errors and omission insurance, if you go into this field. So don't forget that. Good answer. Hat and Clogs 4334 for $2. You just got here. Good night. Good money. He's been around. He likes to.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, dude. I think he already signed off there, but thanks, Hat and Clogs.
Right on.
And there we don't have these aren't super chats, but I'm going to answer this first one from Thomas Crown. What do CPAs do in the off season? Sleep until noon. For a little while, you're trying to recover from the crazy, busy season if you're in tax, but otherwise there's still work to be done. You can help people with tax resolution. People are always getting letters or notices from the IRS, or, I live in the crappiest state in the entire country. Their revenue department's always sending notices out. So there's opportunities to make money, with resolution like that. Otherwise, hit the gym, go hiking, visit your friends in different states. I went to Hawaii just a few weeks ago. You enjoy it. But I am back to work now. Once you get to August, the work comes, and that's what I've been doing this week. So, yeah. And it's like bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is more of a year-round thing, and obviously tax is more cyclical. So just keep that in mind. And Ritchie, okay, Lord, you can be vague about this if you want to. Like, how do you charge your clients? Is it hourly or is it a monthly service fee? You did mention you had an hourly rate for some people. Yeah.
So I did a lot of research on this. You know, there's a lot of like kind of infamous bookkeepers online and other people and courses, and you know, I looked at what they were saying and then kind of started to apply it to what I was experiencing. And so it's basically this. There's like, if someone's like, look, I need bookkeeping done every month, and you're seeing how many transactions they have and what they need, then you come up with like a monthly, like, this is what I'm charging you per month, because it's pretty predictable. Like, they've got some kind of business and you're doing the, you know that their transactions are a certain number, so you can kind of say, oh, well, this is teeny, it's like 250 or 300 a month, or this is the real deal and you can charge a lot. But then, like, there's a lot of, most of my people that I've helped it was hourly, and I've charged anywhere between, an hourly starting at 45, and I've charged more than that. And sometimes the difference in the hourly charge had to do with what I was doing, but I think also it was more about who they were, as far as like, what they needed, kind of emotionally, and to communicate with them.
Just real quick. Again, I was going to say related to tax, but it's really more of a legal thing. Don't forget to do the beneficial ownership information report for FinCEN for your LLC. Just remember that in case you didn't know about that, Ritchie. Just Google it.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I actually have I have an EA
they've been doing that. Okay, I did a stream on that.
Does my taxes and everything, and I consulted her, and I'm gonna be dropping everything off for her to do that.
God, that caused such a headache for me. Anyway, real quick, homeschool time. I'm probably going to do one next week. It's usually Wednesday or Thursday. Probably Wednesday is a good night to do it. So that is everything. Ritchie, any final thoughts before we close it out?
No final thoughts, except for thanks for having me on, and I really hope it helps people. I will put my email.
Go ahead, put it in the chat.
The comments.
Yeah.
Not the chat, but the
the comments. Yeah, go ahead and put it in the comment. And if for some reason it doesn't, you should be able to, but let me know if there's any issues with that, and I'll put it in there. I just wanted to I promised Claire I'd do this. He released that accounting course that he was trying to get me to do for like months and months, until I finally was like, you put the presentation together and I'll review it and provide notes. So that's finally been released. It's called the World's Greatest Accounting Career. I left a link for this course in the description for this stream. So if anybody hears this and wants to buy it, use that link because it's an affiliate link. Otherwise, Clary gets to keep 100%. We don't want that, do we? So no, I'm just kidding. Ritchie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. We needed some positivity about going into bookkeeping after the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks after I did that one stream. So I really appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you, Chad, and this whole community. We all live in the good reality.
We do. And I'll tell you what I might do is maybe after a period of time, I'll get you back on here. You can give us a few updates. Let us know.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do that.
Yeah. All righty. Well, as they say, so Ritchie, when do you think we should hang out? You might not know this is how I end every stream.
Oh, soon, Chad.
Soon. Also, you do know. Okay. We should hang out soon.
Soon, baby. Bye.